This is a course in miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
It's like it's a psychological, philosophical, spiritual, mental experience that's the totality of what you think you are as a human being translated into a new experience of yourself, which is no longer a body, no longer believing in death, no longer believing in separation, no longer believing in anything other than a whole new experience of yourself, which ends up being light.
This course was sent to open up the path of light to us, to teach us step by step how to return to the eternal self we thought we lost.
In this film, Jesus Christ of Nazareth and enlightened teachers like him will share the memory of their enlightenment and realization of Christ's mind. You will be taken on a personal journey of individual awakening and resurrection and experience A Course in Miracles, the mind training program through which the real world is attained and true freedom from the bondage of space and time accomplished.
I was given A Course in Miracles, and it was the first thing that ever made sense to me, that there was something beyond this world that was my reality, and that God didn't know about this condition of suffering and sickness and death.
A lot of the concepts and the ideas that were being expressed in the Course in Miracles, the fact that there is no world, the fact that reality is singular, the fact that there is no death, the fact that I am totally responsible for everything I see and everything I experience. Energetically, I just knew that that was true.
The Course in Miracles study, or our Miracles Recovery Program, we started out with different names, try to be creative, a way out, all these types of things. The program remains essentially the same, that it's a program of spiritual recovery. I say it's a Christian-based spiritual recovery program, and that it's the only type program offered here at Dodge like that.
Don't be afraid of what you might see. Open the book. Don't be afraid that it says nothing that I see means anything.
I opened it at random, and it said, I need do nothing. I need do nothing. So I went and sat down and read it, and I was crying, and I was so grateful. Because for the first time, I felt that I wasn't alone. I was not alone.
I had an experience of Jesus being with me. And I will never forget that experience, because that opened up a new way for me in my life.
I oddałam moją ostatnią małą księgę cudów, bo wiedziałam, że spotkam dziś jeszcze jedną dla mnie. I wiecie co? Parę miesięcy później spotkałam grupę osób, które miały wielką księgę cudów podyktowaną przez Jezusa. Także to nie ja go znalazłam, to Jezus znalazł mnie. I wtedy wiedziałam, aha, to ty byłeś ze mną już wcześniej. Dzięki Bogu.
So what is A Course in Miracles? A Course in Miracles is a direct communication from God through Jesus Christ, indicating the apparent conditional situation between God and man, which is one of false separation, and the way in which that apparent separation is and was repaired. The sole purpose of A Course in Miracles is to bring enlightenment through the transformation of your mind.
I have undergone a spiritual awakening experience. I have undergone an experience of enlightenment and a healing of my mind and body through a miraculous change of my mind. Now, this was part of a process that actually started when I was pretty young. I had experiences while I was growing up that showed me that there was a whole other way to think and live that was different than what you would call, normal reality. Now, one of the key components of my awakening experience was A Course in Miracles.
So this began like it probably did for a lot of people, with an experience of being a human being. Anything that I tried, I began to see how repetitive and small it was. It wasn't giving me any satisfaction anymore. And so this was a key turning point for me.
One of the great lessons that I learned prior to my illumination, and the idea that I could share through prayer, for example, the simple idea that there is a factor, a governing factor of eternal life that was not represented within my own time frame. That's the experience that I had. But it was brought about by the frustration that you must be beginning to feel about the idea that no matter what you do within this little limitation of body, you're going to get exactly the same result. That was part of my journey that led to my illumination. The other part was a frustration I felt of wanting to journey to the stars, wanting to know what was out there, wanting to go beyond the parameters. I remember this is in the 30s, and Shapley had come up with the idea that there were nebulas were actually galaxies of billions of stars. I was so fascinated by that, I would stand out and look, and I knew it was there. So I began to look at it within the factor of my own body identity, and anybody in their right mind would see immediately that I was being denied access to the universe by the simple procedure of being locked in this carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. The idea that I would have to strap on a helmet in order to maintain a gravitational association with myself to get to another planet was absurd to me. Not that I didn't enjoy the adventure of doing it, but the frustration that the procedure in which I operated and identified as myself could not possibly travel to the stars. And I underwent an illuminate experience that I'm offering to you and that is offered to everyone who is on the threshold of the transformation of their mind, in the realization of the inevitability that you, as a human, will have this experience because you are in the transition of having it. The idea of coming from time, the idea of separation, the idea that you were isolated in this little dark form, and are beginning to have the experience of the entirety of you. When is it going to go on? Right here, right now. When did it go on? Right here, right now. What did it have to do with the world that I see out there? Nothing.
I do clearly remember like being a baby and being held by my mother. I remember not being able to communicate and being fully aware and fully conscious, and the feeling of being trapped and completely incapacitated, I guess you would say, was overwhelming. It was just like, it began a whole idea in my mind of the limitation that I was in, being in a body or being in the world.
The world you see is the delusional system of those made mad by guilt. Look carefully at this world, and you will realize that this is so. For this world is the symbol of punishment, and all the laws that seem to govern it are the laws of death. Children are born into it through pain and in pain. Their growth is attended by suffering, and they learn of sorrow and separation and death. Their minds seem to be trapped in their brain, and its powers to decline if their bodies are hurt. They seem to love, yet they desert and are deserted. They appear to lose what they love, perhaps the most insane belief of all. And their bodies wither and gasp and are laid in the ground and are no more. Every single one of them has thought that God is cruel. If this were the real world, God would be cruel, for no father could subject his children to this as the price of salvation and be loving. Love does not kill to save.
All my life, I always felt like something was wrong, something was missing, and I thought it was in me, that there was some kind of lack, and I never could figure out what that lack was, but I felt guilty and ashamed for just being here, and I didn't understand why I felt that way.
Ended up in a refugee camp in Croatia during the war in former Yugoslavia, and met refugees from Bosnia, and I guess I'll never forget that image of that camp, of the condition that they were in. Like, that was pretty horrible to me, seeing like in their toilets where the shit was running down from the wall because the pipes were broken, and there was nothing better to shelter them, and they had nowhere to go. No country wanted to have them.
And one particular image which has never left my mind is a man walking and dragging his skin behind him like it was a shadow. Something about seeing that particular thing gave me no hope of finding happiness, because I thought, if this kind of thing is going on all the time somewhere, someone's suffering somewhere all the time, this isn't a place where I'll ever really experience peace.
Then a critical moment happened when I was 15. My mother died. She got really sick, and next thing she was gone. You know, she left her body, and that was like a really defining moment. It was like where this disillusionment with the world was total. I just saw no purpose and no hope in the world, where you lose the things you love, and my mother was no longer here. She was gone.
This world you seem to live in is not home to you. And somewhere in your mind you know that this is true. A memory of home keeps haunting you, as if there were a place that called you to return, although you do not recognize the voice, nor what it is the voice reminds you of. Yet still you feel an alien here, from somewhere all unknown. Nothing so definite that you could say with certainty you are an exile here. Just a persistent feeling, sometimes not more than a tiny throb, at other times hardly remembered, actively dismissed, but surely to return to mind again.
I am offering you my certainty, as we just read together, that you're an alien here, that you don't belong here, that the idea that you are separate from what everything is within this containment of space-time is not true, and that the light that you are beginning to reflect in your certainty of the converting nature of your conceptual identities will show you a new harmony that we share in a declaration that we intend to escape from space-time.
These moments are really intense memories of what really my experience was of being in this world, being a human being with my relationships and my petty purposes. Yeah. Loneliness. I would feel lonely in cafes. I would feel lonely in crowds, and I was aware of that, and I thought, this is weird. This is weird. I see hundreds of people right now in a shopping mall, for instance, and I feel lonely. So looking back at those memories, I didn't see it then, but I didn't belong here. I didn't fit in. It didn't make sense.
I never really felt that I fit in. I always felt that I was different. And even in my family home, I didn't feel like I fit in. And when I would go visit friends or family, I never wanted to go home because I never felt that that was really my home.
I just wanted there to be something else, because where I found myself in terms of my experience of myself, my family life, just the world I found myself in was simply not acceptable to me. It was just not okay with me in any regard. And I desperately needed there to be some other reality, something else, some other place where I felt I belonged.
I got really frustrated and really mad at God. I decided that it had to be His fault, that I couldn't get back to that joy, that He must be making me stay here in the life that I seem to be living in. It wasn't a life that I wanted even at 7 years old. It's like, this need not be this way. I knew it need not be this way, that there had to be a much better way than this, and I had experienced that, and that was the experience I wanted.
Everyone knows of what we speak, yet some try to put by their suffering in games they play to occupy their time and keep their sadness from them. Others will deny that they are sad and do not recognize their tears at all. Still others will maintain that what we speak of is illusion, not to be considered more than just a dream. Yet who, in simple honesty, without defensiveness and self-deception, would deny he understands the words we speak?
By the time I was 17, I knew that there was something so absolutely and fundamentally and completely wrong with this world that I basically wasn't able to just go on as everyone else, as all my friends were going on. I had experiences of just watching TV, of just, actually I was driving with a bicycle. That was a really big experience. I was driving with my bicycle in Berlin down a road, and there was an old folks' home. And every person was an old lady that was looking out the window. And they had no expression in their face whatsoever. And they were just, out of every window was one old woman looking out. And something happened where I couldn't just go on and just think about myself.
Like I had a hero bass player that I went to go see, and I saw that I was following the same path that he was. And in the instant, and as I was watching him, I saw the time collapse to the completion of the idea that he was following. And he was sitting there playing bass, and all of a sudden, he literally started to turn to bones. He literally turned into bones in front of me, and I went, oh my God, this is my life. I'm simply going to do this, and I see the end of my life right now. And I see what the result is going to be. And I'm seeing it right now. And as soon as you have an experience like that, you go, man, what am I doing? Like, what am I really doing? What is my purpose for? What am I really here for?
There's no need for you to suffer from that idea you have about yourself. There's no need for you to allow this world to tell you what you are. There's no need for you to react objectively with the idea that you are a body. The alternative that I am offering you now, within your own dream, will be so bright and real to you in this metamorphosis, in this awakening process, that at any moment, you right there are liable to spring into eternal light.
there was a moment in my bathtub where I just simply asked, you know, God, I don't even know if there really is a God. I had been practicing that there was a God, but really in my mind, I didn't really know if there was one. And I just said, Father, God, whatever you are, I need help. I'm simply experiencing a feeling that I don't want to carry on. I can't do this anymore. I can't maintain my life the way it's been.
You really can't leave the world as long as you're happy with it. You have to get into an experience where you're not happy with where you find yourself. And you're really asking for more, that there's got to be more to life than this.
And I looked at the ditch and I went like, I'm going in here and I'll never come out. I will not get up because there are no answers. It is impossible. I've tried everything to do what I was taught to do, and it hasn't worked because I absolutely physically and mentally and emotionally, I was a wreck.
I fell on my knees, I raised my arms to the heavens, and I shouted, God, please help me. That was a crucial moment, and at that time, my time was up.
I got to the very, very bottom of my heart, to the very depths of my soul, and asked for help because I could not stand myself, my mind, or what appeared to be happening to me in the world.
What if you recognize this world is an hallucination? What if you really understood you made it up? What if you realized that those who seem to walk about in it to sin and die, attack and murder and destroy themselves are wholly unreal?
We really believe that we're in a world of separate bodies and separate time and separate space and separate people, separate ideas, separate minds, and we really behave as though we're in an objective reality. But if I were to take an electron microscope or a subatomic particle zoomer and really look at you, what I would actually see is a wave of energy that's connected between you and everything else. Everything is literally this sea of energy that's swimming around and in some form of communication.
The world you see has nothing to do with reality. It is of your own making and it does not exist.
I suddenly saw what the Course in Miracles was really about for me. And it truly was getting that I'd made up this world, that this world was not real, that I was in a dream. And there was a reality beyond this, something wonderful.
And one day there was an amazing thing happening. In my mind, it was like inside out and outside in. And suddenly I had like, wow, this is a dream here. I'm here just in a dream.
Somehow I knew this is not real, all of a sudden. It was like this movie that I was watching, and what am I doing here?
You are at home in God, dreaming of exile, but perfectly capable of awakening to reality. Is it your decision to do so?
I'm just so grateful, but I want everything. I want full enlightenment. I want to wake up.
I really needed to know what was going on, what the problem was, and how to get to, enlightenment.
I knew somewhere that there was access to another experience, to another reality, you might say. And I wanted that more than anything.
My experiences as a Christian, even as a Christian minister, brought me to passages in the Bible. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
I came to the realization that nothing was going to change out there. It was like the turning point came in my mind when I realized that change had to occur within my own mind. And from that moment on, I was driven by the idea of transformation of mind. So anything I could get my hands on to read, workshops, that was it. Just transformation of mind. I needed help. So I spent years doing that. And you know what? It didn't work. It just didn't work. I just, finally I just threw all the books away. Nothing worked, and I was devastated. And I woke up one morning and I actually prayed. And I can remember this prayer like I just said it, which I did, and it was, God, please help. I want to know what love is. I don't know, but I'm ready for you to show me. Asking for help was the turning point for me. That's where A Course in Miracles came in to my awareness.
And it was just around that time that the Course in Miracles came into my life. And the book landed in my lap, and I opened the book and I started to read it. There was an energetic spark in me, and I instantly knew that this was an answer. This was the answer.
The process is a beautiful thing because you always hear about renewing the mind, but actually going through a process that actually helps you to do it. That really helped me the most. And that was the most beautiful thing about the Course in Miracles.
The Course tells me some people get it by sudden experiences, some people get it by going to the point of death and then coming back from that. Many people get it by virtue of doing the workbook. In certain respects, I've had all three experiences, but mostly it has been by doing the lessons of the workbook, by staying focused and attentive to what it is that the Course is offering me.
The introduction to the workbook of A Course in Miracles says specifically that the ideas that are being expressed in the Course, that I need not necessarily accept them. I need not believe them. Some of them I may even actively resist. None of this matters. I just need to practice the ideas, just apply the ideas. And that would be enough to prove or to demonstrate to me that they are true.
I started practicing the workbook, but I didn't understand any of it. I didn't understand what lessons 1, nothing I see means anything. I didn't know what any of that meant, but I didn't really care because I was at a point of knowing I'd found something that I'd been looking for a very long time. And so I started getting very excited and worked the workbook day and night, just as it directed me to do. And I started to get happy, and my fear started to disappear. And I can even say that within 6 months, I felt fearless for the first time in my whole life.
It felt to me, when I began to read the lessons, like somebody had entered into my brain and was moving my brain around. And I was terrified. It terrified me. I was totally terrified. It wasn't anything that I wanted to do. And I didn't know what to do. It was very clear to me that it was something that came from outside of this frame. The authority was unmistakable. And it was very obviously Jesus Christ speaking. And that scared me even more, because I always saw Jesus as a very hard taskmaster who could accomplish something that nobody could possibly hope to match.
The first lesson of A Course in Miracles is, nothing I see means anything. And when she said that, I immediately began to go, that cup doesn't mean anything. And I just began to apply the lesson to the things that I saw around me. And I immediately had sort of I can't explain it except sort of like one of those, oh my goodness, something was sort of moving in me.
And that was the most incredible experience, because by the time I had done that lesson 5 times, something happened. And I can't explain what it was, but something changed in me because I followed the directions.
I opened it up at the first lesson and it said, nothing I see means anything. And it was as if my entire universe relaxed. I was so happy. Amazing.
Progress that you have made in training your mind in a systematic way to a new way of looking at yourself and the world has reached the point, very simply, if you've been sharing with my mind this Course in Miracles, that you're going to have to admit to an experience. Remember that a Course in Miracles is an indication of a procedure where you can come to know the truth of universal mind through the change in yours, since your mind represented the split mind, or the idea that there could be separate forms of reality outside of you.
It was like an experience of, like a revelatory experience all the time, because my mind was being corrected, my thinking process was being corrected, and I saw that everything that I did was so upside down.
And suddenly my mind was different. I was in this state of complete peace, and it was really still, and I could see my thoughts. They were just floating by like clouds, and they had no effect on me whatsoever.
I had a physical experience of light that only now I can describe as light. That was completely cellular, a complete unraveling of every cell, just popping into a new light experience.
And I don't know how that offset my mind to the degree that it did, but I saw I couldn't die. At this point, the answer's here. I have no goal, nowhere to go. And when I looked back, when I looked at all of human history, I saw it was just a story in my mind.
I got realigned. I don't have another word for it. I felt, I was redirected back on my path, on my recognition, on my passion, on the sense of being here at all. And it was so intense, it was physical. And again, this old thing was knocking on my shoulder. It was also fearful. But, oh my God, purpose, sense of direction, fulfillment, it immediately filled me up. It just filled me up. I knew why I was here. I had a reason. I had a purpose. It was spectacular.
And as I do the workbook lessons and apply the ideas, it becomes more and more tangible as an experience that the world I see has nothing to do with reality. It is of my own making, and it does not exist. And just behind this world of apparent separate forms and chaos, there literally is a world of light in which everything is unified. I guess you could call it the quantum field. And the beautiful thing that occurred in my awakening is that all of these ideas suddenly made sense to me, and they all came together as one whole experience. Whether it be the Course or the quantum experience, the quantum theories, or the Bible, the New Testament, suddenly all of this, even the Eastern teachings, became one whole experience of myself coming to know the truth of who I am.
The mind training of A Course in Miracles is the awakening of consciousness. It is the awakening of my true self.
Who walks with me? Who walks with me? Yeah, yeah. Who walks with me? walks with